Deze hele uitzending vertellen we je over het nieuws uit Noorwegen. Bij een schietpartij en een bomaanslag in het land zijn zeker 92 mensen omgekomen.
22 juli 2011 is er een man geweest, genaamd Anders Breivik. En hij is naar Oslo gegaan en hij heeft daar een bom geplaatst onder het regeringsgebouw. Hij heeft eerst een bom laten afgaan onder het regeringsgebouw in Oslo zelf. Er zijn 8 mensen omgekomen, veel meer gewonden nog. Hij is vervolgens naar Utøya gegaan. Dat is dus dan dat eiland waar de jongerenbeweging van de Arbeiderspartij, de AUF, hun zomerkamp hield op dat moment. En daar heeft hij een totaal van 69 mensen fataal geraakt met zijn geweer. Die zijn dus omgekomen. Ik denk dat zo'n aanslag een hele grote impact heeft op de samenleving. Ik denk dat heel veel mensen het echt heel zwaar hebben gehad na de aanslag. Want zo'n land inderdaad, dat voelt altijd super veilig. Zulke dingen gebeuren niet heel vaak. Maar we moeten ons er wel van bewust zijn dat het wel kan gebeuren. En dat het altijd kan gebeuren.
Yeah. People have always said that Norway is a so safe place. It's like a really safe country. But I think many got really worried when this attack happened because really many people died because of one man in Norway that is so safe. I became a bit worried. I was maybe it's not that safe place.
I spent many years working with issues outside of Europe. For example, the Middle East. I was very interested in the Middle East, and I spent time in Lebanon and learning Arabic and things like this. But at one point of time, I also thought that, okay, we also have these issues of democracy and human rights. We have these problems in Norway as well. And this is something we have to work with also at home, not only abroad. So I think for me there was sort of a change of looking at the world outside of Norway and outside of Europe. And then 22nd of July is one of the examples of why these issues are important in Norway.
But I think that, I continued to carry with me the knowledge that it can also happen here, and that the things that I had been working for before became even more important to work with also in Norway. Because before I was maybe more focused on what was happening outside of Norway, and I think afterwards I realized that I can focus on the international, but I also have to focus on the national issues and try to create change and have these discussions and debates here about Norwegian society and not just about how it is internationally.
So I, for quite a few years, I didn't mention the dead people around the Pumphuset. I didn't mention that. I didn't mention the things that I thought that people would respond most most to them.
It's not, I think, the 22nd of July was a trauma for the whole of the country. And I don't think for me I realized how much of a trauma it was until I came here. Because the day before I came here the first time, I was really afraid and I had all these emotions that I didn't know how to deal with. And I came here and I felt like it was healing to come here because it's such a beautiful place and so peaceful. And, to see that they have actually managed to build something so great. So I think it's more like the national trauma.
Now when I talk about what I work with, people are like, oh, so important, and they start having questions and discussions. But I remember when I got this job, it was more like, oh, and then starting to talk about something else because it was very difficult. And sometimes maybe it's just the timing, you need time to process. And as Anna said, a lot of people were directly affected because they knew someone, or they also felt attacked because he attacked values that people stood for. So of course, I think we also have to have understanding for these reactions, and that it is a difficult topic and it is sensitive, and yeah. But there is a change, I think.
I remember this father and his two sons. They were teenagers, and they were walking around in the exhibition, and they were saying like, "Yeah, this video footage is fake. This is not showing what actually happened. This is rigged. This is the government trying to." So that's also part of the challenges that we're facing. People deny it. And yeah, people deny it, saying that it was actors on the island.
But then afterwards, I think we also had in Norway, how do you say that in English? We were afraid of talking about the attacks, and also talking about the controversial sides of the attacks, that it was one political party that was directly attacked. Yes, we said that it was an attack on all of us, but it was actually also an attack on the Labour Party, on the AUF, and that's also something that we need to talk about.
It was seen as an attack on the nation, every Norwegian, etc. But Guri said something about it, how it had hit the Labour Party, especially the young people in the Labour Party.
For example, the narrative of the right-wing extremism. And a lot of people will say that didn't come to the surface soon enough. We didn't start talking about who did it and why he did it and the ideology and who he targeted soon enough. The discourse of we were all victims and he attacked all of us. This was too vague.
20 juli kaart. En de 22 juli kaart is eigenlijk op het moment dat er in de politiek iets werd gezegd over de aanslag door de Arbeiderspartij, dan werd het eigenlijk neergeslagen van jongens, dit mogen jullie niet aanhalen. Dit is geen geldig argument. We gaan het hier niet over hebben, want dat geeft jullie een vetorecht. Dat is waar ze bang voor waren.
Even it was some opposition politicians said using this card, no really. When we tried to start working on this, we started working with Utøya already in 2014, so 3 years after the attacks, before the building from there. It was extremely difficult for us to get funding for our things. We were putting our own money, trying to put things in, because people didn't want to start talking about this, and it was extremely sensitive.
Population, I feel a lot of people want to have a bit of a distance to this topic in Norway. I think many people, it's too sensitive, it's too hard to go into it.
Nou, toen kwam 22 juli, waar een hele hoop jongeren natuurlijk gericht zijn geraakt. De jongste die bij de aanslagen zijn omgekomen zijn 2 14-jarigen. Dus op het moment dat jij dan vanaf je 18e stemgerechtigd bent en er zijn allemaal mensen ook van jouw leeftijd overleden. Ik weet het niet, je zag wel dat daar zeg maar een verandering in kwam, het nam toe. En dan niet alleen voor de Arbeiderspartij, maar jongeren vonden het dus belangrijk om hun mening te geven, om dus dit soort dingen te voorkomen. Dat is iets wat je echt heel erg zag veranderen.
5 years after we had the first camp here again, and then the number of participants was doubled. In AUF and also other young parties of Norway, we can see the numbers of new members rising after 11.
But just after the terror attacks in 2011, there were elections in Norway, parliamentary elections, and we saw that the youth engagement really rose, that the participation of young people in elections, the number of people voting, went up, and also more young people became members of political parties, and not only AUF, which was attacked, but on the whole scale. And this level of engagement from young people, it also lasted many years, and it's still higher than before 2011. So that, I think, was a very visible effect, that more young people saw that, okay, we need to engage in politics, this is important. And I think it's quite sad that it's only when democracy is attacked that we start seeing the value of it. So I think we should discuss it every day, and because it's not something you accomplish and then you're done. I think it's something you have to work with every day, and that we all need to be aware that how we act in everyday life is also part of democracy.
Wat je dus ook ziet is, omdat het een gewoon Noorse burger was, werd er dus gezegd van het is één van ons. Maar in de eerste dagen na de aanslag was dus niet bekend wie de dader was en welke motieven dat daarachter zaten. Dus werd er in de samenleving heel erg vanuit gegaan dat omdat het een aanslag was, dat die door een moslim gepleegd zou zijn. En dat is natuurlijk al gelijk een hele rare opvatting. Sowieso hetzelfde vooroordeel wat Anders Breivik zelf ook had bij deze mensen. Heel erg. Dus moslims door heel Noorwegen, die werden belaagd op straat.
Also, before we knew there was a Norwegian man, many people thought that it was a Muslim who attacked. And a lot of Muslims got a lot of hate because of that. And got attacked, and they took the blame for it. And there were many disagreements as well under the surface. There were many people who didn't necessarily feel like they belonged to this bigger we, this bigger community, because how about all the Muslims that have been attacked out on the streets previous to our knowledge about who the perpetrator really was, that he was a Caucasian, Norwegian, a young boy who grew up in Oslo. Then we had to, stop and think. But previous to that, Muslims and other people people that were immigrants were harassed on the streets.
And when it opened, you could actually drive cars underneath it. People could walk straight through the reception. So it was supposed to represent this open, transparent society.
You were supposed to be able to park your car and take the elevator straight up and into the Prime Minister's front office if they want to discuss tax with the tax politics with the Prime Minister.
Je kon gewoon altijd je auto's onder dat gebouw parkeren, wat dus nu ook niet meer kan. Dus ze willen, wat we ook hebben gehoord in onze gesprekken, is de regering die wil het wel gewoon enigszins open houden. Maar het kan niet meer zo toegankelijk zijn als voorheen, want dat heeft echt heel veel mensenlevens gekost. Dus wat we ook zagen toen we door die regeringswijk liepen, is dat er op de weg van die beveiligingsblokken zitten. En die kunnen dus omhoog schuiven, en dat stonden ze ook toen wij er waren.
Hey, so what sort of security level will we have? Because we didn't know back then, it hadn't opened yet, so we didn't know whether neo-Nazis would find it interesting. Even though we knew the exhibition wasn't appealing to neo-Nazis, they could,
We decided, me and my wife, that it was not something to talk about too much with the children, but we told them of the bomb, and they were with us visiting all the flowers and the memory places in Oslo, but we were not informing them of the old man going around and shooting children, because we thought that was too harsh for them.
Okay. When I was a child, I was looking at TV, and I saw Breivik, and my parents or my mom said that he was a bad man.
I think it's the worst came last. It's given sense we needed to know what happened. They couldn't keep it a secret in many years. So this said a bit and came with more and more, and you just learned it in school, and I feel it's natural and that I just have known all my life. It just came, but still today I have learned new things that I didn't know. So you learn every day.
I remember an exact moment I learned about it. I remember a friend of me telling me about the movie that came out about 22nd of July, and I think that's when I realized what really happened and the consequences of it. How many people actually died and how many it really affected.
and there would even be a lot of people that would say, why should children learn about it? What can children learn about this? This was just a mad person doing a shadow thing. We should move on. This has got nothing to do with us and the future, and especially children and youth.
Well, some maybe think that they're a bit afraid maybe to see how their pupils will react. You know, if it will be too sad, and that we, you know, so kind of for this care for their pupils, that they don't want to go into this, or for themselves, because now the pupils, they don't, like you said, they're 5, 6, they don't remember anything from the tech, but for the teacher it feels very recent.
Wij wisten niks meer van de aanslagen en wij wisten niet dat dat was gebeurd. En datzelfde probleem ontstond eigenlijk in Noorwegen. Terwijl het eigenlijk gewoon een stukje geschiedenis van het land is en het ook niet vergeten mag worden.
En om dus toch te zorgen dat de generaties die nieuw komen niet vergeten, is er dus in Noorwegen een aanpassing geweest van het landelijke curriculum.
Dus hebben nu dat voor je 16e moet je er les over hebben gehad. Waardoor, laat maar zeggen, ze er wel voor zorgen dat iedere jongere weet wat er is gebeurd.
Verder zijn er geen eisen van wat moet je precies geleerd hebben, de motieven, de gevolgen over de aanslag zelf. Daar zitten geen eisen aan.
Yeah, but then we had the change of the curriculum in Norway, where it was explicitly said that young people, that after the 10th grade, when Norwegian students are 16 years old, there's like one of the competence aims saying that they should learn about 22nd of July in schools. So we see that this, and we also had democratic citizenship as an own topic in Norwegian schools. So this has brought like 22nd of July more into the school system.
And also I feel like all Norwegians already know a lot about it. Like we've grown up knowing what happened and knowing the story. But we also learned about it at school. We learned like the whole story about how it happened and about him.
Yeah, it's just like something everybody knows from the family. Like we were so young, but we learned about it when we got older, and we talked much with our parents about it because we needed to learn what happened. But personally, in my school, we haven't learned that much about it because we gotta learn about it now after I come home. But I feel like when I grown up, I just learned more and more from school, family, friends, just something everybody knows because it's happened when we live.
Wij zijn de toekomst en wij horen ook beslissingen. Wij moeten ook dingen kunnen voorstellen en moeten ook mee kunnen denken. En ik denk dat Noorwegen daar na de aanslag wel bewuster mee is omgegaan.
I also wish that when people's going to school that they can maybe bring these conversations back home, you know, around the dinner table. Where were you? What did you think when you heard this happening? What do you think? This is what I learned. I want pupils and students to leave the classroom after meeting me and feeling like I matter in this story. My views, my participation in conversations and debates around 22nd of July, racism, discrimination, freedom of speech, all of these related topics, that I can have something to say about this. And, you know, having their own kind of relation to this topic, feeling like this is relevant for me, even though I do not remember anything. I think that's one of the most important things for me, because that's how you start conversations. That's how they will keep on happening. Yeah, I think that's...
For me, it's like my story is just like one of like 500 stories on the island that day, and even more stories from also from the people that was close to the bomb, and I just hope that my part of the story gives a better understanding on what happened that day. But more importantly for me, it's about extremism and the fight against extremism. And then I think young people need to see what can be the result. And my story is just like, or the story, all the stories from the island that day is just the most extreme example of what can be the result of thinking that some people are worth more than other people, or
Ze hebben vooral eigenlijk veel met de overlevenden gedaan. Dus hun een grote stem laten hebben in, en ook nabestaanden in hoe een monument zou moeten, hoe een monument vormgegeven zou moeten worden. Of op wat voor manier, of waar die zou moeten komen, of hoe het eruit zou moeten zien. En ik denk dat dat wel iets heel moois is. Dus er is meteen een heel groot gesprek eigenlijk ontstaan met nabestaanden, overlevenden en deelnemers van de Arbeiderspartij om dit op een zo goed mogelijke manier vorm te geven. Zo is er een rozenmonument in Oslo gekomen en hierbij zijn eigenlijk van over de hele wereld meer dan 400 rozen gekomen. En daar zijn ook nog rozen van een smid in Andos. We zijn ook naar die smid toe geweest om te kijken eigenlijk hoeveel werk er achter zo'n roos gaat zitten. En ik kan je vertellen, er zit best wel veel werk in. En als je dan beseft dat er meer dan 400 van die rozen zijn, hoeveel handen daaraan hebben gewerkt en hoeveel tijd daarin is gaan zitten, is dat eigenlijk ook wel weer een mooi voorbeeld van hoe alles samenkomt door zo'n aanslag en hoe iedereen samenwerkt door zo'n verschrikkelijke gebeurtenis.
You know, you probably heard about the rose marches, and people in Norway were very like saying we want to respond with love and not hate, and we want to respond with more democracy. This was sort of an immediate effect.
The public response was really strong. There were public rose marches. I guess you were West Vigo march as well. I was in Sandefjord, so we did it there, and it was a huge in Oslo, and there were really good speeches by the Prime Minister. I mean, the government really, at that time it was a Labour Social Democratic government as today, but this was obviously an attack at the Labour Party. But there were so many good speeches. I was really proud to see our Prime Minister that Friday night, and he was quoted on BBC, gave a really good speech, and the speechwriter even told what his idea was.
A huge amount of flowers and everything in the city centre.
Because the first response and what we call the short and most immediate aftermath showed a massive gathering, you know, of the Norwegian population getting together, holding roses high in solidarity with the victims, in solidarity with those who were targeted, the labor youth, and such. And the government who was in office, the Prime Minister who was in office, was at the same time the main target, and his youth organization, it was children in his own organization. So it was incredibly difficult task he had to formulate a message that had to do with togetherness for a whole country. How should we stand together through this, as well as voicing that his own party had been targeted, because obviously the terrorist has very strong opinions and hate towards this party in particular.
Bijvoorbeeld de ring die ze hebben op het eiland zelf, die hebben alle namen, maar die namen zijn er niet in één keer gekomen. Die zijn er, ze hebben echt de ouders, de nabestaanden, hebben ze echt zelf laten beslissen of de naam erop kwam of niet. En sommigen wouden het niet, maar nadat ze het hadden gezien hoe mooi het eigenlijk was geworden, hebben ze toch voor gekozen om de naam er wel nog bij te zetten. En ik denk dat dat wel heel erg mooi is, dat, laten we zeggen, de keuze wel heel erg was aan nabestaanden en overlevenden, hoe het vormgegeven werd.
This whole place was actually just a piece of jungle back in 2015. But then together, when the task was given, let's do something together, you know, to build this memorial, so we can physically do something, because processing all the sorrow can be difficult. And the criteria for this place was two. One, don't find a place where there's any connection to the terrorist. So no, not where he was arrested, and not where anyone was killed. And that was the second part, that everyone should have the same connection to this place. So one father of the victims, he just walked by one day and thought, this should be the place. And then they started to construct and work, and together they built this. So the circle of ring you can see here is 1.5 meters above the ground. It has all the 69 names engraved with their ages as well. And what's interesting is that in the beginning of the process, we only had 60 of the 69 names when the ring came up. Some family members had to just physically see the ring before they could take a decision that can I really have my loved one's name on it or not. Because everyone processes sorrow differently, and for us it can be a small thing to just have a name, but for them it's a big step to take. And then eventually we had 4 more names. We had to take it down again. 4 more names came, and then eventually the last 5 came again in 2018. So that's when the circle was completed. And also to have it on the circle, it symbolizes something, that that you're together, and also the fact that the circle doesn't have a start, it doesn't have an end, and it can also be a symbol of foreverness, eternity. The balance about what we do is important as well, because here, people who've actually lost someone can come in and have a silent place where they can, contemplate in peace. And 10 minutes later, they can go down there and play a soccer game, football game, and have fun again. So there's room for everything on the island, every emotion, every kind of activity as well, within the limit.
Many of the survivors, they had to give their voice to this work. They kind of owned the place, they kind of owned their experiences here, right? And their parents. So there's been so many voices into the work, and then they have kind of tried to solve it, to create something that can be not only something they can visit and come back to, but also something more.
Both during the camp, they always now have like a tour of the island for the new people that haven't been there before, and it was also even at the first camp in 2015, I could just walk past the memory ring or where all the names are, and they were just sitting like completely new members, like 17-year-olds, just sitting there quietly. No one had told them to, and they just went there and thought that was a big part of being on the island. And then when they walked, they were just laughing and singing and going down to play football, or just like, that's like, you shouldn't go to there and just be like, yeah. And especially young people shouldn't do that. So they should feel free to laugh and to discuss politics, because that's what the island is there for. Yeah. And I think that has just become a normal part of the island and of IF as an organization. So, yeah, I couldn't have dreamed of anything more, I think. And I said, oh, I'm never going back. This isn't it. No more politics. Just get this, like, we had these ribbons, or, yeah, maybe about, yeah, get it off, man. Like, yeah, tofu, yeah, never again. And I was not, when they opened the island again, and everyone was invited out in August that month. I'm the one that was there in 22nd of July, was end of August, I think. I said no, thank you. Yeah, not for me. So I wasn't, I went later that fall for the first time. Yeah. So it took me quite some time. And I didn't think, when I heard other people in RF and Eskil, which you mentioned, talking about we're going back, and I was like, oh no, we're not. We had different opinions, and we were different voices, but we all respected each other because we all knew that we had the same motivation. And spending more and more time at UTM, then deciding, I was going to try to have sleep there for a night, and then maybe for a weekend. And we were just a group of friends trying to be there, not doing anything else than just being there, not having a big program or like anything like that, just being there, trying to. And it went okay, it was good, and then the motivation also for like introducing new members of 16, 17-year-olds to the island, it just became a really big motivation. Yeah, and I was one of the people that felt like, because it was personal also for me, I think. Yeah, but we were of course a bit worried before the first camp in 2015. Are they going to be afraid? Are they going to laugh, or are someone going to say like, we should all be like, but no, young people, I think, are maybe it has shown that especially young people understand that you can do both.
And you're gonna see the island and see how beautiful it is. I think that's so nice to see. I love being there and seeing how beautiful, and all of the pupils and students and everyone walking around and learning.
Ja, ik vond zelf naar Utøya gaan wel echt wel een hele mooie ervaring. Ik denk dat, het is gewoon heel bijzonder om op zo'n, het is een hele beladen plek eigenlijk. Ja, ik denk dat het blijft gewoon wel een hele mooie plek. En gewoon, het blijft ook echt, dat is wat ons ook meerdere keren verteld van, ga er ook heen. En natuurlijk is het een plek waar veel is gebeurd. Maar er zijn ook heel veel mooie dingen gebeurd. En ik denk dat dat wel de kracht is ook van het eiland.
Er werd al van tevoren verteld, heb plezier. Het is geen eiland om alleen maar in verdriet te zitten omdat daar zoveel is gebeurd. Omdat het zo verleden heeft. Maar het is ook gewoon een heel mooi eiland en er is ook ruimte om plezier te hebben. En voordat we daarheen gingen voelde het eigenlijk best gek, want voelt het helemaal niet als een plek om plezier te hebben. Maar ook al heeft het zo verleden, er is gewoon ruimte om plezier te maken. En we hebben daar gevoetbald en we hebben daar pootjes gewaden.
En toen liepen we terug. En toen lag daar in één keer een gedenksteentje, waar dus een paar meter van de plek waar wij het zo leuk hadden gehad, is dus gewoon iemand om het leven gekomen. En dat was wel weer eventjes schakelen, zeg maar. Dus je ziet wel echt dat hele lichte en die donkere kant van het eiland. Dat was wel heel erg indrukwekkend. Op dat moment was er geen zomerkamp, maar er was wel een cursus voor middelbare scholieren van een jaar of 2 jonger dan wij zelf. Die cursussen die op Utøya worden gegeven, die leerlingen die komen ook eerst in het 22 juli centrum. En daar gaan ze alvast aan de slag met een hele hoop verschillende manieren van leren. Zelf op onderzoek gaan, maar er ook opdrachten over maken aan de hand van quotes die ze daar zo aangereikt krijgen. Die ze dan bij verschillende gebeurtenissen kunnen plakken.
It says that if one man can cause so much evil, imagine how much love we can create together. So it's, everyone comes up here, we have an introduction. You're met with a very short summary of what happened, just to kind of set that. And then we talk a little bit about the kind of goal and motive of the attack. It was a Labour Party, it was the Labour Youth Party. Why? Right-wing extremism, kind of framing it a little bit. And then very quickly they go down to the exhibition and exploring it on their own, because we want them to explore by themselves and not just, again, be told, but to explore. And then coming back, talking about what they've seen, what do they notice, what items, what films, what, kind of bringing it back to what they are interested in talking about. After going down, you mentioned the Room of Remembrance, Okay, why is that interesting? What does that tell you, and what does that make you feel? Kind of bringing it back to what the pupils found interesting in the exhibition. And then questions, of course, and then we start with that specific kind of program. So.
All the places you will see now, they kind of have a dark side and a light side. And there's a balance that has been very, very important in the work of rebuilding the island. it's a very good place to be, we always tell them, and it is, because this is a neutral place. It was very, very important at the 22nd of July. Around 50 young people and adults too hide in there. And they saved their lives by blocking the windows and doors.
Like yesterday, we played volleyball, football stuff, and the ball got like shot down to the water. And then I was going to find it and need to run so fast I could to get the ball down, like going down. And then like I thought I got a feeling of how it was, because I needed to run how fast. It sounds pretty weird, of course, but like run how fast I could, and yeah, just to get the ball though. But like then I got the feeling of maybe how it was a bit. It's not the same when somebody's shooting at you, but like running down there and was a bit.
I think it's because I just spent so much time out there, and there were some of my like best memories before 2011 was there, and some of my best memories after have also been on that island. Like really, and I'm more emotional about talking about when we had the first summer camp there. That gets me more, because that was just like, it was such a relief than talking about the day itself. Yeah. So for me, the island is filled with so many like truly good memories.
I think I wanted to be here just because I think it's a valuable lesson to be here and get the opportunity to learn about it from the actual spot it happened.
When we meet young people at Utøya, we collect after they stay 3 days at Utøya, and then they go home and they do local activities with their peers, bringing on what they learned to others. And after that, we collect change stories from them, where they reflect about what they learned. And we see that many of them write that I learned that democracy is so much more than I thought before.
Mee te nemen. Kijk, ze mogen het daar niet vergeten, omdat het daar is gebeurd. En het moet, die herinnering sowieso van die mensen, die moet in leven blijven. Maar ook in Nederland is het belangrijk dat wij dus hierover leren, zodat we dit zelf kunnen meenemen om ook hier dingen te kunnen presenteren. Dat hoeft dus niet alleen daar. Dus dat is ook een belangrijke gedachte om hiermee naartoe te nemen.
It shouldn't be that you have to have like a attack in your own country or like next door to be able to learn from, like that would be horrible. Like so that Norway have had this terrible experience. Of course, if it can be in any way used in educational purposes in Europe or elsewhere.